results. We have the CEO of the Singapore Stock Exchange, Magnus Bocker, joins us this morning for an exclusive interview. Good morning to you, Magnus. Now, before you launch into Singapore being the best place on earth, let's talk about these numbers. Trading volume up 48% in March. Is this really the trend for the rest of this year? It did help boost your bottom line.
Good morning, Susan. I think that we should remember that when we compare the third quarter for us, the first quarter this calendar year, with last year was a very rough quarter with really the bottom of the financial crisis we had. So I think the comparison numbers is not necessarily really the best one. But we had a good quarter, a stable, solid quarter.
Yeah, and trading volume for the month of March, pretty nice as well, up 48%. How do you see trading volume for the rest of this year?
I have learned in this industry that you should never predict trading volumes. But I think following some of the GDP forecasts that we see coming not only in the Southeast Asian part of the world, but actually globally, will historically have always added to volumes. When we see the market recovery, we see a more stable GDP growth that will boost and be more positive to our market as well. So we are cautiously optimistic.
Yeah, those were pretty stellar GDP numbers for Singapore, up 32% quarter on quarter. In fact, it was so good they had to revalue the Sing dollar. Is that going to impact the SGX at all?
I think the most important is that we see the economy recovering. We see the economy start to work more efficient. We see companies posting better profits. We see them more active. We see them more interested to invest, and therefore by more interested to invest, we also see that their need of capital increases, and that's where we come in.
Okay, so if that's the case, then do you see more business coming into Singapore, say, because of the economic growth numbers that we've seen, and also because of the stronger currency, the appreciation of the Sing dollar?
I think that what we see from an exchange perspective is, of course, we have a very solid IPO pipeline right now. We have the pleasure of having 4 IPOs this week, and we definitely see more interest from other parts of the world coming to Singapore to raise capital here.
Yeah, what do you expect from IPOs this year? You have 4 this week. What about for the entire 2010?
In our calendar year, our fiscal year, we have had 30 IPOs so far, and I think that compared to the previous year is a fantastic growth. And when I look into our pipeline, the number of companies that comes into us and make their submission, I think we will definitely see a really good growth between 2009 and 2010.
Okay, can you put a number to that, though, Magnus? Let's be specific here.
Yeah, I wish I could. We all know that some of the companies coming into us, they might end up being into a transaction. They might choose to go a little bit later. There's some of them that we don't know about today is coming in. So I wish I could give you a number, but I give you the number that we are growing it very much year on year.
Now, Magnus, what do you think when people look at Singapore, thinking that this exchange has really been overshadowed by the likes of, say, Hong Kong and also Shanghai in recent years? In fact, Hong Kong was the place where the first Russian listing took place. And Magnus, you're looking to get more Russian companies to list in your exchange as well with a recent trip to Russia.
Well, I think there's 2 parts of it. I think when we look into markets, I think Hong Kong has done a fantastic job, like Shanghai. And the need of capital for Chinese companies are phenomenal. We've had the pleasure to have 10 new Chinese companies coming to our market over the last 9 months, having it nearly 160 Chinese companies in our market. So I think we are supporting the Chinese growth even in Singapore, not of course as much as Hong Kong and Shanghai do. I think what's important is also what brings companies to Singapore. And I think assets under management, institutional money. There is today about $1,250 million under management, billion dollars under management in Singapore, which is twice the amount of Hong Kong. So there is some very good and selling factors also for Singapore versus going somewhere else.
Let me ask you, are we likely, though, to see a Russian company list on the SGX anytime soon? We have 5 possibly down the pipeline here in Hong Kong.
I hope to see Russian, European, and US companies coming this way. I think we are very strong in certain sectors, like some of the marine, offshore, shipping, manufacturing, and financials. And I think if we find companies that fits into that, I would be delighted to welcome them.
Okay, let me ask you about the milestone for China today, because China is introducing the trading of index futures. What do you think of this move, and what advice do you have for them?
We are very happy to see that coming. We're very enthusiastic on their behalf. As you know, Singapore Exchange has been very much in the forefront when it comes to index futures and future trading, not only Singaporean, but more importantly, the Indian, Taiwan, Japan, etc. If we can get more countries trading index futures, it's always been good for Singapore. We hope, therefore, that it will be a great success, and we hope, therefore, we will see more traders coming to this market trading those products, because if they do, they will also start looking into our products.
Yeah, I bet. What about partnerships? Are you looking maybe to partner up with Hong Kong or maybe Shanghai, et cetera, because it seems to be the vogue trend for a lot of these trading indices and benchmarks and markets to basically collaborate?
Nothing we have in the plans today, but I think the successes we've had working with the National Stock Exchange of India, with the Nikkei in Japan, and with Taiwan, of course, we have a very good experience of partnerships and collaboration with other markets. So when the time be right, we will be there, no doubt.
Okay, Magnus, I have one more question for you. Let's talk about regulation, because recently we have a lot of chit-chat in the U.S. about regulating the so-called dark pools, which are these huge blocks of trades that really go unnoticed and aren't very transparent in their pricing. But you know, dark pools aren't that popular in Asia just yet. Do you want to keep it the way it is, or do you welcome dark pools?
I have no doubt to believe that the way we trade in Asia, whether it's here in the southern part or the northern part, in Japan or India, will change. There will be a need for investors to have other ways of crossing their trades, not only like they do today on the exchanges. So we have engaged ourselves in a project called Chai East, which is what you refer to as a dark pool for certain kind of trading activities. I think that will be a great success. I think, however, it's a few years ahead before it really takes off.
And what do you think of more regulation, Magnus? Do you think there needs to be more of it then, to make sure that there is transparency with these dark pools?
I think there needs to be a clearness when it comes to who is trading, what is trading, and how much is trading. I think most of the regulation that is out there today in Asia is okay and relevant for these kind of markets. I think that when you look into the US, and some of the regulation discussions is partly driven by other factors coming out of the financial crisis than necessarily the efficiency and other issues you might have with the dark pools.
All right, Magnus, thank you for your time this morning. Nice to see you. Magnus Bocker, who is Singapore Exchange's Chief Executive.